Hey everyone, Chris Geo coming to you from Beyond the Veil. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this on Facebook or on YouTube, probably YouTube. But earlier I did a video about go fuck yourself. I know some very, very, very horrible words there, go fuck yourself. But I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey through the consciousness, evolution, and elevation, a little bit about ascension as well, and why go fuck yourself is so powerful. We live in a world of duality, first and foremost, up and down, left and right, night and day, man and woman. And there are two sides to the coin. There have to be two sides to the coin because how do you define love without fear or hate? You know, love and fear or love and hate are kind of blanket terms for various amounts of different emotions that we have. But you can really separate them with those two, love and fear. Hate comes out of fear, for example. But because we live in a world of duality, we have to be able to master both of those emotions. And we also have to love ourselves more than anything else, because by loving ourselves and understanding how to love ourselves, then we can understand how to better love each other out there. And in my journey, it started way back in 2005, 2006. I was listening to Alex Jones, the whole truther thing. The next progression seemed like David Icke's material, where he was talking about consciousness. But I didn't quite understand consciousness. But I know that he used to say, infinite love is the only truth, everything else is an illusion. And that sounds great on its surface. But as my journey progressed, I realized there was much, much, much more to that. When we first started the journey, we found ourselves trying to emanate love and light, trying to emanate infinite love is the only truth, everything else is an illusion. But without going through the journey of the progression, we found that we were attracting some really, really, really bad energies into our sphere. As a matter of fact, throughout our entire career, we attracted the worst people possible, bottom of the barrel, horrible, horrible, horrible energies at that time. And it was almost as if, because we hadn't gone through the journey, that we were attracting those kind of energies because we were trying to emanate the love and light, and the darkness was coming to try to feed upon that. And we didn't know how to deal with the darkness that was coming in to feed upon that. Not only that, but there was a lot of darkness inside of us, a lot of childhood traumas, a lot of things like that. And because we hadn't dealt with that, it seemed fake. And not fake in the sense that we were trying to fake it, but fake in the sense that we really didn't understand the journey. So it came out as it, not disingenuous, but rather uneducated. Let me put it like that. And in the New Age community, I see a lot of this. I see a lot of very, very, very toxic people that'll sit there and give you this whole fake smile and namaste, my brothers and sisters, namaste, my children, children of the light, et cetera, et cetera. And people kind of get stuck at that place. And that, in my opinion, is all ego based. Because what it is, it's the ego wanting to free itself, or free it becomes something more than what we are at the beginning when we're going through our deprogramming process. And the ego starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's this whole idea that we have to emanate this whole love and light and love and light and love and light. And as we're doing that, I see a lot of this in the New Age. There's a lot of like guru worship and things like that, and all these people that sit on their chairs and they're like namaste, and they wear the shit on their forehead and put on this whole act. And I've come to identify that as the first level, and people that are essentially just kind of faking it because they haven't really gone through the process. Now, we knew instinctively not to ever do that, but we did have this whole love and light, love and light, love and light, turn the other cheek bullshit. And it took a while to really understand the flip side of it, which is go fuck yourself, which is the sword. You've got to have your shield, but you've also got to have your sword at the same time. And, we went through the deprogramming process as we started to work with ayahuasca, and our light started to get brighter and brighter and brighter. And I realized that these ancient tools like ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, many other tools like this are the true tools to utilize for a specific reason. And the reason is because you can't deprogram the ego with the ego. So I hear a lot of things in the new age against psychedelics, against the natural tools of Mother Earth. And when I hear this coming from a place of fear, because it's fear of the ego dying. Because true ego death takes true ego death. So in the ayahuasca realm, um, I remember when we first started this, we were listening to David Icke, and he was talking about his ayahuasca experiences, and we actually were lucky enough to have him on the show when we first started our show as well. And I was trying to get him to talk about the ayahuasca experience, but he was a little reluctant to talk about that. Shortly after or before, I want to say shortly after, Joe Rogan wrote us an email and said he really enjoyed our interview with John Anthony West, and we invited him onto the show. So we got to talk to Joe Rogan for about 3 hours. And I realized as I was talking to him, it was the total opposite of what I would have expected from somebody with a lot of experience with DMT and psychedelics. Somebody with a lot of experience of spirit work and breaking down the ego and doing all of that. He was very rough. He cussed a lot. He was very sharp. And where we were at the time, I could tell what he was thinking, which is the same thing that I'm thinking now when I watch a lot of these quote unquote new age gurus on YouTube. Is he was probably thinking these people have no idea what the fuck's going on. And I use the word fuck on purpose. Because when you go through the process of ego dissolvement, you don't come out shining a light and going, ah, yes, I'm ascending. Look how ascended I am, my children, etc., etc. Instead, you come back and you're like, holy fucking shit. I had no idea this journey was going to be so rough. But this is why a lot of people don't go on that journey. So as I started to progress through the ayahuasca experience, what I realized is that you have this point, which is the ego, right? So you take your first couple of hits of DMT, and for the first couple of months, actually, I would get to a point in my state where I'm like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, I don't want to know what's further, I don't want to know what's further. And what it was is I felt like I was dying. And the reason for that is because it was the ego that was dying. But I didn't want to let my ego go. My ego being my sense of self, my ego being my identity. So I would get to a certain point. Let's say it starts here. I would get to this point here in my DMT experiences and then want to rush back to my body. And this point is, oh no, what happened? Did I die? Oh no, I think I might have died, rushing back to my body. As I started to master the realm more and more, I started to be able to get to this point here. And I got to a point one time where I was like, you know what? I don't care if I died. So what if I died? I want to know what lays beyond the veil. And it was at that point that the ego started to die. But it wasn't complete and total ego death, but it was a state of disconnection, of not remembering who I am, not knowing my name, not knowing anything about me, not knowing where I was, not knowing anything. It was actually the most beautiful, but at the same time most terrifying experience that I've ever had. But as I started to get to that point more and more, and getting to that point of, shit, I think I might have just killed myself with whatever I just did, I realized that once I broke that level and that barrier, all the programs, all the ego programs laid on the other side of there. It wasn't even a place of ego death at that point, but it was the beginning of the destruction of allowing the ego to die. After that came all of the programs from the traumas, from all of the experiences, from some of the horrible suppressed memories that I had. You know, I had a lot of childhood abuse. I had what I think was a little bit of sexual abuse as well. And all of this stuff manifested within my DMT experiences. But that's just what made me want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And the way they manifested is they manifested as demons within the ayahuasca realm. And you hear these stories about people having these horrible, horrifying experiences on ayahuasca, on DMT. But what that actually is that's their ego and all the ego drama and bullshit and programming coming up in the experience. And I recognized that these quote unquote demons were actually inside of me. There are no external demons, but rather the demons are inside of us. And it's our own darkness. It's everything that's happened to us within this matrix, in this life and previous lifetimes as well, that manifest in these experiences. And this is why ayahuasca and DMT is so powerful, because it allows you to visualize and actually see and be inside of all of the stuff that you're trying to deprogram, so you can do so much more inner work. I've read articles that said that one ayahuasca session is worth 1,000,000 therapy sessions. So I've seen in the ayahuasca community people who take ayahuasca and take DMT, and they're constantly attacked by quote unquote demons, which makes them run the other direction and say, this is evil, this is evil, this is bad, this is bad. But in actual fact, what that is that's element of their own ego that's trying to come up and saying, hey, you better deal with me, you better deal with me, otherwise you're not going to be able to go deeper. The question that I have is, how do these new agers out there, how do they deprogram the ego with the ego itself, without a tool that disconnects them from their consciousness? And the only conclusion that I can draw is that 99 out of 100, well, I guess I would even go so far as to say 999 out of 1,000, have not. There's just no way it's possible. You just can't do it. So you get this fake love and light. And a lot of these people could be very well-meaning. Some of them are very ego-based, though. Some of them want to be cult leaders. Some of them just want to be famous. Some of them just want fame. Some of them just want the attention, all that stuff, right? But after you go through the process, it's like being drugged through the mud. It's a horrible process. It's a horrific process. And you come back and you're like, fucking shit, what the hell was that? And there was a point where I completed this cycle, I completed this loop, and there was a lot of cussing on Beyond the Veil. And the New Agers were coming to the channel and going, oh my God, I can't believe you would talk like that. I thought you were spiritually enlightened. Spiritually enlightened people don't talk like that. Spiritually enlightened people don't say fuck. Spiritually enlightened people don't say go fuck yourself, etc., etc. But after you've been to war and you've been to combat, you come back hardened. And when I realized that it was triggering people, there was a few shows back around 2016, 2017 where it was fuck, piss, cunt, son of a bitch, blowjob, pretty much everything. And it was kind of like detaching those energies. But when I started speaking my truth and becoming my true self, then my tribe started to come in. And I realized that my tribe is the only thing that matters. All these other fucking people don't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is my tribe. But it was a completion of a loop. It was a completion of a cycle. And ascension, especially in the way that the New Age teaches, is the same thing as religion. Religion and New Age are basically the exact same programs, just with different terminology. You have the rapture in Christianity. You have ascension in the New Age. It's all escapism from this 3D realm that we're living in. But the thing is, if this realm and ascension, the way the New Age portrays it, where we graduate and move up to a different point of existence, well, how are you going to graduate the third dimension if you haven't even mastered the third dimension? And I realized what the point was at that point was to take those ayahuasca experiences, take the DMT experiences, take the deprogramming, and learn how to master this dimension, not try to escape to another dimension. It's the exact same thing with Christianity as well. There's always end of the world prophecies, there's always rapture prophecies, there's always all of this. We're going to be raptured, we're going to be raptured, we're going to be raptured. Okay, if that's the case, have you mastered this dimension? And if so, why would you want to be raptured out of this dimension if you've mastered this dimension? What I realized was bringing back the information from hyperspace and bringing back into this matrix and helping others on their journey was what it was all about. It was about mastering this dimension. But there was a point in my own journey where I felt like I needed to get away from everything in order to be able to focus on all of this. And we moved out to the middle of nowhere. We had this beautiful lake. You could see the stars out there. We had so many wonderful ayahuasca experiences out there on the boat. We had this really nice boat we would take out. It was just Cherie and I. It was beautiful. And I missed the stars. I really, really missed the stars. But I realized that I wasn't able to interact with anybody out there because I was out in the middle of nowhere. And the truther mentality as well is I'm going to go out, live in the middle of nowhere, live off the land, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's great, but how are you helping your fellow human being? How are you helping others by doing that? All you're doing is just helping yourself. All you're doing is just escaping from the 3D. And at that point, we decided we need to move to Las Vegas. I mean, you know, there were many different cities we could have moved to, but we needed to move to a large city. Las Vegas being the pick because there was so much to do here and so much entertainment. And we had been devoid of all that entertainment and fun things and nice restaurants and shows and everything like that. With our luck, we happened to move right before COVID hit, but that's neither here nor there. We're still meeting some awesome people here. And I'm so glad that we're here than anywhere else, despite everything that's going on. But my point is, though, that we brought those experiences back here to help other people. And I think that's what the ultimate goal is in all of this. It's deprogramming yourself, finding your true self, and then helping others, not isolating yourself or wanting to escape from this matrix. So it's been quite an interesting journey. But I notice another similarity with religion and New Age. And religious people, not all of them, I don't want to paintbrush anybody, but religious people seem to be just as fake as New Agers. And the New Age, they have this fake namaste, you know, the smile, oh, namaste, and they're very passive aggressive, and they're very insulting, and they act like you can't see through their bullshit. And it's like, no, I can see through your bullshit, no doubt about it. Same with the Christians. Oh, bless you. In Texas, where I come from, bless your heart. Bless your heart can mean there several different things. It can sincerely mean bless your heart. Or if you see a baby that's ugly, for example, you say, oh, bless his heart. Or, you know, if they think that you're a dumbass, they'll say, bless your heart if you say something stupid. Or if they don't like you, they'll say, bless your heart, which means go fuck yourself. So same with namaste and what I've seen from the New Agers. Namaste. I just like to be real because I've been through the shit. And what I say is, go fuck yourself. And it's a powerful tool to utilize. Now, obviously, you don't want to go around and tell everybody, go fuck yourself, just like you don't want to show love and light to everything. Imagine this scenario here. You have a tick that's on your arm, okay? But you're all about love and light. You don't want to hurt anything. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to do anything. So that tick gets inside of your skin. It starts to suck your blood. Now it's sucking on your blood. Sooner or later, if you leave that tick on long enough, your arm's going to get infected. And if you leave it on even longer through the infection, and you're like, oh, well, that infection is a whole living organism right there. I don't want to hurt it. I don't want to harm it. Your entire arm's going to fall off. And sooner or later, if you continue along that path, you're going to wind up dying because you didn't remove that tick from this huge infection that's running through your body. It's the exact same thing. You've got to be able to pull that tick off, squash it, and say, no, you're not going to feed on me anymore. And that's where the go fuck yourself comes in. Now, you don't have to say it. It's not words that you say, even though what I realized is that when I started to become more sure of myself, when I started to become more sure of my journey and I actually did the work and went through the process, I realized that I became much less hesitant to tell somebody, literally, hey, go fuck yourself. Simple as that. And what that does on an energetic level is tells them, I'm balanced. You know, I understand. You can go through some of my YouTube comments where I've replied, and sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't. And you see what happens now that I'm at a point of balance is that the people that send love, I reply with the same loving energy back. The people that send hate, I tell them to go fuck themselves. Go fuck yourself. I've seen them come back with these ego-based attacks. And I think this is something that a lot of people, especially on social media, YouTube, whether you have a YouTube channel or not, whether you just have a social media account, whether you're part of Facebook groups or anything like that, people will try to play to your ego. And not even play to your ego, but sometimes jolt your ego a little bit. So I'll give you an example. So when I say go fuck yourself, people will say, oh my God, I can't believe that, you know, I thought you were so ascended. I can't believe you would talk like that, etc., etc. Well, if I hadn't gone through the whole ego deprogramming, my ego would jump in and go, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no, I'm supposed to be this whole ascended thing. I can't believe I'm acting like that. I better not act like that. And oh my God, I was so wrong and so horrible for saying that. But in actual fact, if these people are going to send negative energy my way, fuck them. I'm going to take my sword out and I'm going to chop their heads off. You can't love evil. And this is the conundrum and of where we have found ourselves with this whole New Age love and light bullshit. Can you love evil? I don't think I can. I think it's a paradox to love evil. Evil just needs its fucking heads chopped off, and that's it. And in order to be a warrior, you've got to know how to deal with these dark energies. And you don't deal with these dark energies with Care Bear stares and all this bullshit. You definitely don't deal with the dark energies by just ignoring them, because they feed upon that as well. They feed upon ignorance. They feed upon you not realizing that they're there. A lot of people are walking around with attachments, and they don't realize that those attachments are there. And that's how those attachments get in, and that's how those attachments feed. These are attachments, or archons, if you want to call them archons. Astral parasites is another way to put them. They connect in by you not knowing that they're there. And so once they're connected, they want to try to stay as covert as possible. Well, if you're all about love and light and love and light and love and light, and you're not willing to look into any darkness, number one, you're not willing to look into how those astral parasites are getting attached to you by your own darkness. And number two, you're just completely ignoring the fact that darkness exists within this matrix. Well, again, everything is duality, up and down, left and right, man and woman, night and day, so on and so forth. You can't define love without defining the opposite. You can't define light without defining darkness. And in order to be balanced, you have to understand the entire spectrum. And you have to master the entire spectrum as well. And you have to know, even more so, the most important thing when you ascend in your consciousness is you know when to pull out the darkness and when to shine the light. So it's something that took quite a bit of experience to come to. But, all of these realizations I came to on my own. And I'm hoping that by making videos like this and putting them out there, what I'm helping others to do is helping them to see something that's always been there, but it's just kind of like a little change of perspective to keep you from having to see it for yourself, but rather, now that you're aware of it, you can see it much easier rather than having it there the entire time and you just simply don't see it because you don't know to turn in that direction and look. So the other thing that I found about New Age and religion, the two things too, is they seem to have a problem with sex. The New Age is all about, celibacy and holding your orgasms in and doing all this. Exact same thing as Christianity too. Don't have sex before marriage, no masturbation, no this, no that, etc., etc. Well, this matrix is based on fluidity. Everything has to flow within the matrix. Everything within the body has to flow through the matrix as well. I've been working with this masseuse. She's a 70-year-old Asian lady. She studied with Buddhist monks. And she was explaining to me how she calls it water because her English isn't very good, but it's all the fluids, different fluids in the body, the blood, everything like that. It has to flow. And what she does is not only energetically releases all of that, but also physically, like in the back. You start to get all these knots in your back. And those knots are preventing the energy, not only the energy, but also the blood and all the spinal fluid and everything from flowing. And she's like, everything must flow, everything must flow. And I agree with that. We even have a cycle of life within the matrix to make sure that energy is constantly flowing. And this is another thing that I criticize the New Age for, is they talk about veganism. And I know it's not a very popular thing to be anti-vegan, but the fact of the matter is that everything within the matrix is recycled. That's why one animal eats another animal. That's why the animal eats the grass, so on and so forth. Now, again, factory farming is an abomination, but I don't think it's an issue of us eating meat. I think the issue is that there's just too many people in the world, and we're trying to figure out how to feed all of these people. But we've been eating meat since the beginning of time. But again, if all you're doing is eating meat, which I've heard people out there talking about the opposite side of the coin, which is a carnivore diet, that's totally off balance as well. My diet consists of a little bit of meat, a lot of plants, and I've been trying to cut the bread out, but I'm Native American on one side, but my other side is Greek and Italian. So especially like flatbread and like Arabic type flatbread and stuff like that. Oh my God, I love that, especially with hummus or tzatziki or something like that. But I know I got to cut that out because the wheat is contaminated with Roundup, and you cannot find any wheat out there at all, period, that doesn't have this poison inside of it. So it's not the bread that's bad, but it's the poison that's in the bread. So I've been trying to cut bread out a little bit. As far as balance within the internal body, it's really paid off for me personally because, for all intents and purposes, I found myself to be in perfect health. Despite the fact that I've been carrying around a lot of extra weight on my avatar, which you would look at somebody like me and go, he must have diabetes, he must have high cholesterol, he must have high blood pressure, he must have something wrong with him. And I thought that too. But when I get my blood work, everything comes out perfect to the letter. I think it's because that I've tried to keep my diet balanced, and I've had a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetables, try to eat clean as possible, very little processed kind of stuff. I do have a pituitary tumor though, and this pituitary tumor has also helped to show me that there's a balance within the body that a lot of us don't even think about. So this pituitary tumor has caused high DHEA levels. It's caused high ACTH levels, and it's also caused high cortisol levels, which as a result has caused the weight gain. It's caused lower testosterone. It's caused higher estrogen. The internal chemicals, because of this damn tumor, have caused all the inside chemicals to go completely and totally out of whack. So now I have to find ways to bring all of those back to balance. So that's one way that they're dealing with this pituitary tumor. But again, it just goes to show how important balance is, even in the chemical makeup of our bodies as well. We run into situations like a pituitary tumor, for example, that prevent us from finding balance. But here's the thing, I've been dealing with this for a couple of years now, and the doctors finally figured out what it was. I knew something was wrong, but they finally figured out what it was. But during that whole time, I was doing everything that I possibly could to try to keep myself in balance, and as a result, I'm in perfect health. Everything is perfect, aside from that tumor. But again, it goes to show how important balance is in this matrix. And love and light, and go fuck yourself. The two polar opposite sides, again, must be balanced. Back to the orgasm thing here for just a second. You know, I think this comes down to, as well, the escapism from this 3D reality that we're in, and the need to escape the 3D reality. Some people's 3D reality sucks right now. But the question is, if your 3D reality sucks, then what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for an ascension process to take you out of this? Because I was also at that point too for a while, where I was looking for every end of the world scenario. I was waiting for Nibiru to come back. I was waiting for some kind of big cataclysmic event to happen to change my reality. But I realized that I was the only one responsible for changing my own reality, and that took a whole lot of inner work to do. And once I started to do that inner work, I started to be able to manifest different things within my life. But in order to manifest all of those, I had to get rid of all of my ego programming, and I had to get rid of all my preconceived notions of what reality is. And I had to become the master of this reality here. And it's a never-ending journey. It's like exercising. You know, you have to exercise regularly, otherwise, you know, the benefits of exercising start to go away. Same with spirituality. Same with ayahuasca. Same with DMT. I got a comment just the other day, and the guy said, "Oh, I'm 7 levels higher than the shamanic healing." I was like, "Oh wow, you know, that's really interesting. You know, good for you. Kudos on you for being 7 layers higher from the shamanic healing. You did ayahuasca, you know, 10 years ago, and you've ascended beyond that. Wonderful." But in actual fact, it's like exercising. It's like saying, "Oh yeah, no, I used to work out really hard 10 years ago, so I don't need that anymore." Now, it's a constant process. It's a constant it's a constant exercise. It's a constant ritual, whatever you want to call it, to keep things balanced. And unfortunately, within this matrix, we're always off balance. But I guess what I really wanted to leave everybody with this particular video is that the journey is long. The journey is tedious. The journey takes strength. The journey is going to have its ups and downs. The journey is going to make you cry because it's going to make you feel like you've died. It's going to make you feel like everything is crumbling down around you. But in actual fact, that's the ego being deprogrammed and dying away as the new starts to unfold. And when the new starts to unfold, then you realize, wait a minute, I need to enjoy this matrix. I need to enjoy the sights and sounds and pleasures and touches and everything like that. But I have to do it in a balanced way. So I hope you got something out of this video. I really do. The last video had a little bit more information in it. That was a little different than this video, but yeah. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be. We'll get back to doing some regular shows here pretty soon, but we'll see you even further beyond the veil. Remember, be balanced. Don't let those energies feed on you. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Love ya.